Hello, scholars. My name is Dr. Karis Dillon, and the goal of this channel is to make academic subjects easier to understand. If you haven't already done so, please click the like and subscribe button so I can continue to bring you more videos. Now, in the last video, we talked about reactive attachment disorder. And in this video, we're going to cover disinhibited social engagement disorder. So now, let's begin. Before we start talking about disinhibited social engagement disorder, I wanted to tell you a story about my nephew, because I always did wonder if he might have this disorder until I did more reading about it. And then I thought, it's a little bit too far off from the criteria. But the minute my nephew could walk, he was running. And I'll never forget the time we had to go to some type of funeral or something at a church. And the minute this child got out of the car, he just took off. And he just went anywhere and everywhere. And did not really have a sense of there could be danger. I mean, it wasn't necessarily that he was headed to a park or that he just ran. I mean, it was unbelievable. And later on, he was diagnosed with ADHD. And he's still like that. He likes to be moving. He likes to always be doing something. But it kind of caught me off guard because when I read over this disorder quite a few years ago, I wondered if he had disinhibited social engagement disorder. And looking through the criteria, I think he understands the social constructs when and if to say something. He didn't come running in and jump on people's laps. He did have a bit of stranger danger, and so that's what told me that he did not have the disorder. But I thought that was a little story that I'd throw in there to kind of make you think about what's the difference between ADHD and disinhibited social engagement disorder. In order to be diagnosed with disinhibited social engagement disorder, an individual has to have the following characteristics. A child will actively approach and interact with strangers they do not know. B, the child does not have age-appropriate social boundaries that include verbal or physical behaviors. C, the child does not seem to be shy about going up to anyone and interacting with them. D, the individual doesn't seem to check back with their caregiver to see if it is all right with them if they leave. The child seems to venture away into settings that may or may not be dangerous. E, the child will go off with a stranger with very little questioning. F, the child does not have to have ADHD to have socially disinhibited behavior. G, the child shows patterns of needing care and not getting it, as well as stimulation and affection by an adult. H, the child may have had many different caregivers in which there wasn't enough time for the child to bond with them. They may have been in frequent foster care or put into an institution or been flipped back and forth. I, the child is brought up in places where he or she rarely forms attachments to places or to objects. J, the child must have a developmental age of at least 9 months old. Now, the professional will want to specify the persistentness of the disorder. So if the disorder has been present for more than 12 months, that will need to be put into the record. The professional will also want to specify if the disinhibited social engagement disorder is severe, which means that the child exhibits all symptoms of the disorder. There is not a parent or an adult version to this. This is just a childhood disorder. When children have disinhibited social engagement disorder, they have patterns that bring about culturally inappropriate behavior, which can mean they're overly familiar with strangers, and this can violate a culture's social boundaries. A child must be at least 9 months before they can be looked at for the disorder. Sometimes neglect can cause language delays, cognitive delays, severe neglect, and the child may have poor nutrition. Even when these issues are cared for, given disinhibited social engagement disorder, it still can become a problem. The prevalence of this disorder is unknown. It appears to be rare, occurring in a minority of students or children. It's even rare for children that were raised in foster care or in institutions. It is most likely that social neglect are often present in the first months of life with these children diagnosed with disinhibited social engagement disorder. If issues of neglect show disinhibited behaviors, these behaviors may shift into the child moving into attention-seeking behaviors in preschool. Peer relationships are most problematic where peer conflicts are likely to arise. This disorder has not been talked about in adulthood. Usually the disorder is seen from 2 years old through adolescence. In the younger years, movement toward a stranger will be the dominant feature. As they get older, movement and verbal intrusiveness tend to take over. Attention-seeking behavior will then become part of the goal. Generally, in adolescence, these adolescents will know lots about other students, but they'll have a lack of emotion toward them. Okay, so we have reached the end of our video concerning disinhibited social engagement disorder. This is one of those disorders that not a ton of people tend to know a lot. More psychologists in the younger adolescents or working with children tend to be more aware of it. And I do want to say that my young nephew has turned out to be such a great young man. He's about 21, 22 right now, and he's been working on building constructions and such. He does great in his job, and he's just a pleasure to be around. So, all right, well, we are going to be continuing on. In our next video, we will be looking at PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And this can take place, most people think of it in relation to soldiers, but it can also happen to rape victims, traffic accidents. There's a whole host of things that can happen where people can have PTSD. So we're going to be going over all those signs and symptoms and hopefully some treatments to help with that. So I thoroughly appreciate you being here. I hope that you continue to share this channel with others. And if you need anything, let me know in the comment section. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk with you soon.